Hey guys, Pedro here to tell you about the latest from Tribulation, Sub Rosa in Aeternum, out November 1st on Century Media Records. The album has 9 tracks, 41 minutes in length, and this is the band's 6th full-length studio album. They are a Swedish gothic metal band. The design of this record is very interesting to me because first and foremost, I like albums that give me an overall cohesive experience. I find that it connects the album, it connects the experience, it makes the record feel more together, almost as one. In this album, I didn't get that experience. I actually felt like the album was more about enhancing the uniquenesses that it has. Not just the uniquenesses in the songs, but the uniquenesses in the album as a whole, and it enhances those and it brings them more into the forefront in the way that the album is put together, creating peaks and valleys almost song in and song out. And then it's up to the listener to dive a little bit deeper into the experience of going from first all the way to the last song to find where the red line resides. Where does this album connect the dots? So it's an interesting record from that perspective because it puts you sometimes, at least at first glance, it puts you in a very uncomfortable position because you almost have to reset yourself with every single song, sometimes musically, sometimes vocally, but they all have uniquenesses in the way they're presented throughout this track listing. But once again, once you get through those uniquenesses, I'm sure you're going to be able to find where this album connects itself and why these songs really belong under one single roof. Now, once you get into the sound, this is where you're going to find a lot of those uniquenesses. You're going to find them in the vocals, but you're definitely going to find them in the sound. This is obviously a gothic rock metal album. That is the baseline of everything sonically on this record. But it's a record that goes far beyond it, and it brings influences in and somehow makes it work. When you listen to this album, you're going to find some electronic elements, almost bringing an 80s new wave vibe into some of the songs, or at least into some elements of the songs. They're not afraid of going and creating a track that almost sounds like a Nick Cave style song. They're also not afraid of coming in and bringing some ghost-like elements into the sonic tapestry of this record, because this record has a very diverse or very appealing sonic tapestry, and the way that all of these tracks and all their uniquenesses come together, you're always going to find that gothic vibe present. It's just that they're presenting different ways of still having that vibe, of still having that atmosphere, of still having their mood in their sound, but with different nuances, with different perspectives, with different textures all around, and sometimes even different elements in terms of what creates that vibe. Sometimes could be the guitar, sometimes you get a little bit more out of a piano, so they're not afraid of enriching their sound, having in mind that gothic backdrop, and then bringing in other sounds, other influences, other perspectives, and merging them into what they want their sound to be and how they want to represent that gothic perspective. So it's a very textured, is a very rich album from that perspective. Even in the most simple, straightforward songs, I think you're going to find something elaborate, and you're going to find always something underneath the surface to dig a little bit deeper, to get a little bit more beyond of just what the overall perspective seems to be, because this album has that ability. It has an ability to sound and feel simple because it is very hooky, it is very catchy, it has great songs from that perspective, but once you dive a little bit deeper into the sound, you're able to see all the nuances, you're able to see all the layers that brings this record to life, and this album has a lot of sound, and I think that's something really important for a record that at the surface feels very simple. Now, in terms of the two main core elements that I appreciated tremendously throughout this record, or at least the two most consistent elements, the guitars and drums, the bass as well, but I didn't feel like this was an album that had a lot of focus on the bass. The bass plays an important role, but it's not a defining role as far as the soundscape and that same tapestry is concerned. But the drums and guitars are. I enjoyed the drums on this album tremendously. They're very lively. For a record that at times feels very melancholic, very somber, very dark, there is some life, some energy in the way the drum sound comes across. It has movement, and I really enjoy that movement. The snare sounds really good. The cymbals have this great splash that also doesn't feel constricted. It feels like it moves around. So overall, the drum sound on this record is extremely interesting to digest, and I feel like it added almost a sense of soul. Even in the songs that were really dark and perhaps a little bit soulless, the drums help adding a little bit more soul into the overall perspective. The guitar is the same thing, super rich guitar sound all around. That's not something that I wasn't that I was surprised by. I was totally expecting that. What I wasn't necessarily expecting was some of the melodies that they created on this record, some of the riffs, even the solos on this record. They have this ability to make you feel sometimes a little bit uneasy with the situation. They make the hair stand up in your arms, but at the same time they make you want to dance. Dance in the moonlight, if you will, because it has that kind of late night feel to it. There's a sense of what happens after midnight as far as the vibe of the album is concerned, because always something bad happens after midnight, or good, depending on the perspective. So this album definitely has that kind of vibe, and the guitars help translate that vibe from just notes and sounds into actually something that you can measure, something that you can feel, which I also feel it's an important element of the album, and it's always been a very important element of the band in general. Now, the sound is not the only thing that pulls in from different influences, is not the only thing that has a rich tapestry. The vocals do as well. From the harsher side of the vocal range, that more blackened, sometimes even almost a death metal approach, if you will, not as far into that genre, I would say, but more of a blackened raspiness, a harsh delivery and experience. From that side of things to the more somber, deeper, almost like typo negative style, I just absolutely love the vocal range. And I love the vocal range because it's very song specific. It's not like you're gonna see these fluctuations on every single track, or it's not like there's one style or one approach that's dominant and the other one is there more almost as a backing vocal role. No, the vocal approach is very song specific. It almost feels like there's sometimes 9 different singers, each one took a song. It's that kind of diversity, it's that kind of richness of vocal delivery and vocal tone that this album gives. And I think maybe that is what surprised me the most, was not necessarily the range, but the choice to go with very specific deliveries depending on what mood they were trying to create with each and every single song. That to me was the biggest surprise, was not uniform, there's no patterns, and even when you're listening to this record from beginning to end, if there's 2 songs that have some similarities of sound, well, the vocals are going to come at you from completely different angles, which is going to create that jolt, that separation on a track-by-track basis. And when you put all of this together, this is easily my favorite Tribulation record. First of all, I'm a huge fan of this kind of sound. I'm a huge fan of this kind of vocal approach. And when you add that little bit more darkness, when you add that more raspiness, when you add that more blackened vocal approach to a record that sounds like this, that is this hooky, this catchy with incredible melodies, I'm completely sold. It just gives so much life to this album. This record is made out of 9 singles, and somehow they found a way of making them all work under one single master, being the record itself. Now, as far as favorite songs are concerned, that was a different choice, a difficult choice, I should say. And I picked different songs from the singles, and I went with Drink the Love of God. This is the first one, the first track when I was going through the list of songs outside of the singles that immediately captivated me and grabbed my attention. It has this great gothic rock vibe to it. It's a song that has great movement. It doesn't move slowly. It has some pace to it. The vocals add this dark, mysterious ambiance into the song. I also really enjoyed the backing vocals. The backing vocals on this track had so much soul and added soul to the overall feeling of the song. The sound also has that same dark embrace. Even the melody on this song, even in the most melodic moments of the track, you still feel like this is a super dark and somber track all around. And even the solo, with all of its beauty, with all of its might, it still adds some incredible darkness to the way the overall song is put together. It's a great track. There is a little bit of a rustic vibe in terms of the sound, the essence, the textures. Super textured song all around. Next we have Time and The Vivid One. Now this is a really cool track. I really love the song because it's really interesting. It has such interesting dynamics. It has that more, it has some similarities sound-wise with, for example, Drink the Love of God. There are some similarities there. Sound-wise is not as textured. Where this song then also changes is on the vocal approach, because you're going to get that more darker, blackened, raspy delivery that definitely adds an incredible sinister vibe to the way the song is put together. Musically, the track jumps out, specifically once you get into the chorus. The chorus has this sonic touch that I felt like hints of the band Ghost in that chorus, only in the chorus and only in little pieces sonically, not vocally, sonically. Now, once you move into the verses feel a little bit more contained, a little bit more restricted, allowing the vocals to really dominate that essence. That part of the song is dominated by the darkness that the vocals deliver. And then the chorus is where everything becomes a lot brighter, a lot bigger, a lot more impactful. I love the solo as well. Great complete track with great dynamics, especially on the vocal side. Last but definitely not least, this is my favorite song on the record, Reaping Song. If after listening to this song you don't get some Nick Cave vibes, you'll probably never listen to Nick Cave in your life. They must be big fans, because this song totally gave me that vibe, that essence that I get when I listen to a Nick Cave record. The vocals are outstanding. Let me start off by saying that. And if a song is going to sound like a Nick Cave song, the first thing that you should think about is his vocals. And this song vocally is just incredible. Outstanding vocal performance on this track. So haunting, so beautiful, with so much, I don't know, with so much almost, I was going to say despair in it. There's definitely some despair in the way the vocals come across, but despair almost in a sense of being complacent with it. Like you've made peace with things not being necessarily the way you want them to be. That kind of despair in a vocal performance. It's a beautiful song, well delivered. Musically, the piano adds incredible life and energy, and adds to that rich tapestry of sound that the song and the album overall has. It's a very rich sounding song. It gives you a lot of different elements. It gives you a lot of different flavors, but all of them intertwine perfectly to combine to create this single harmony, this single song that just comes to life with everything that it offers, which is bleakness at times, but still such an incredible track. Every time I listen to this song, I have to put it on loop, and every time I listen to this song, I get chills. The vocal performance mixed in with the incredible sound that the track has makes this one of those incredibly standout tracks of the record. Hands down, my favorite song on the entire album, on an album that I love every single song in it. This is it. Tribulation, Sub Rosa in Aeternum, out November 1st on Century Media Records. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Hit me up in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts. I'll see you all at the next video. Take care, guys.